Good day, grade 11 students. I am Sir Arnel and welcome to Personal Development class. Today we will be discussing about emotional intelligence. In the previous lesson, we explored the ways on how to improve brain functions for personal development and develop a personal plan to enhance brain functions. In this lesson, we will strengthen your understanding in emotional intelligence, emotions, and the intensity of emotions. As an adolescent, at all times, you are being consumed by your emotions, which got you into trouble. By the time you realize that your emotion is too strong, you are done with actions that you later regret. Your knowledge on intensity of emotion can help you control yourself and avoid affecting others. Your deep understanding on different emotions, the triggering factors, the effective ways to handling strong emotions, and your level of emotional intelligence or your EI will guide you in positively communicating emotional expressions. So this module was prepared to help you gain knowledge and emotional intelligence and better understand the intensity of different emotions. The lesson will guide you in communicating emotional expressions to become a better version of you. So what is emotion? So emotions is a subjective state of mind triggered by a certain stimuli or events which occur in the environment. It is a reaction to a certain event that happens. Collins Dictionary defines emotion as a feeling such as happiness, love, fear, anger, or hatred, which can be caused by the situation that you are in or the people you are with. Emotions can be observed through body language and facial expressions, which explains how you feel or how are you doing at that moment. Through analyzing and reading facial expressions, you may be able to understand what a person's feelings, physiological changes as increased heartbeat or respiration, and overt manifestations like crying or shaking of the body and swaying of hands and arms may also give us an idea on what a person feels. So now let's try this. Let's identify this and look at this picture closely with the emotions was being shown in each picture. Refer or identify what kind of emotion being shown by these emoticons. So if you answer surprise, then you are correct. Another one is, what do you think this emoticon shows? If you answer sadness, then you are correct. Another, what do you think this emoticon show? If you answer happiness, you are correct. Another is this. What emotion is being shown of this emoticon? If you answer angry, then you are correct. Another one is this. What emotions is being shown by this emoticon? If you answer disgusted or disgust, then you are correct. So you have witnessed or seen facial expressions associated with emotions on activity that we have on the previous slide. This time, let's discover the intensity of your emotion on the following or discover your emotions from the discussion that we are going to do with it right now. So what is the universal emotions? Charles Darwin's book, The Expression of Emotions in Man and Animals in 1872, he suggested 7 universal emotions associated with facial expressions. These emotions are surprise, sadness, disgust, happiness, pride, anger, and contempt. These are common emotions associated with facial expressions which can be observed in the previous activity that we had. So the expected responses in activity 1 are surprise, so feeling of mild astonishment or shock caused by something unexpected. Sadness, the feeling of being unhappy, characterized by grief, despair, and disappointment. Number 3 is happiness, a state of well-being and contented. Number 4 is anger, a strong feeling of being upset or annoyed because of something wrong or bad. Number 5 is disgust, a feeling of horrified disapproval of something Give yourself 5 claps. So give yourself 5 claps if you got all the correct answers. So now what's emotions? Emotions are connected to our brain and comes with facial expressions used to communicate the emotion, surprise, sadness, disgust, happiness, pride, anger, and contempt are all universal emotions as they are common regardless of culture, age, race, language, and religion. So here are the basic types of emotions as defined in Merriam-Webster Dictionary and dictionary.com. So first is joy, sadness, anger, fear, trust, disgust, surprise, and anticipation. So let's know them better as we go further and beyond our slide. So joy, it is the emotion evoked by well-being, success, and good fortune, or by the prospect of possessing what one desire. So I know that if you have something gotten from your parents or from your loved ones or from your special one, you felt joy. Or if you are or if your boyfriend or anyone can give you chocolate or flowers or something that make you feel very overwhelmed and you feel that joy. So that is joy. And we have sadness. So this emotions is affected with or expressive of grief or unhappiness. It is characterized by feelings of disappointment, hopelessness, disinterest, and dampened mood. So usually we feel sad if our boyfriend or girlfriend got splitted, or your mom nag you every morning, or something, the house was too tidy or untidy. So untidy, and your mother will gonna nag you over and over and over again, so you felt sad about it, or you being upset of something or whatever make you sad, and that is a sadness. Then we have anger. It is a strong feeling of displeasure and antagonism. If you feel something bad, you're very upset, or something, you're very feel bad about it, and that is anger, and that is normal. Then we have fear. This is an unpleasant, often strong emotion caused by anticipation of the awareness of danger. So fear of height, there's a lot of ways or kinds of how you fear yourself. Fear of being seen as snake or heights or something. Then we have trust. These emotions reflects firm belief in the reliability, truth, ability, or strength of someone or something. It's something that you are want to gain from your loved ones or from your special one, which is trust, no? So fidelity from someone. So we all need trust from government, a trust, no, very important from family, friends, or whoever we are with. Trust is very important. Then number 6 is disgust. It is a feeling of revulsion or strong disapproval aroused by something unpleasant or offensive. If you felt annoyed or something that could surprise you badly and you get disgusted, no, that is an example of disgust. So number 7 is surprise. If you experience already have been surprised, then that's a surprise, unexpected or unusual. And number 8 is anticipation, the act of looking forward or expectation of hope. Wag umasa. So there are 8 basic types of emotions according to psychologist Robert Plutchik, which was grouped into 4 pairs of opposites such as um, joy or sadness, anger, fear, trust, disgust, and surprise and anticipation. So Plutchik also authored The Wheel of Emotions, which was illustrated like the color wheel. According to Plutchik, emotions can be combined to form different feelings. For Plutchik, basic emotions act like building blocks, while the complex or mixed emotions are blend of the basic ones. For instance, a combination of joy and trust creates love. Contempt is a blend of anger and disgust. So here is the intensity of emotions. It refers to variations and the magnitude of emotional responses, an extreme degree of feeling. Therefore, the intensity of emotion identifies the action an individual will have. Intensity ranges from mild, moderate to strong. There are instances when too strong emotion compels a person do something beyond the normal. A good example is when you unexpectedly receive a gift on your birthday. You might feel thrilled. No, you're being thrilled. Others might feel happy. Some might feel glad. Is there any difference with terms? Yes. The difference between those terms are the intensity of the emotions. So strong emotions should be dealt with caution as it may lead to action that a person might regret. For example, after feeling ecstasy for winning on the lottery, an overjoyed person might suffer heart attack. Moreover, a feeling of terror when somebody is trying to abuse you might end up making you quiet and not speaking or asking help to adults even after being molested several times. That is very common to us Filipinos nowadays. No, there are some girls have been raped by their stepfather or by their biological father, by their neighbors or some strangers, but they don't complain because they are afraid and they are being or perhaps they are being fat, might be killed or killed by their family, like someone that like that. So it's getting common to hear news of a man and a woman committing suicide due to much grief of losing a partner or girlfriend or a boyfriend. That's one also example of strong emotions. So this is the Podricks wheel of emotions. In this figure, Podricks describes the inner circle as the strongest emotions, where are the vigilance, ecstasy, admiration, terror, amazement, grief, loathing, and rage. So they the inner circle. Then the next circle are the basic emotions, which has moderate intensity. So they are the anticipation, joy, trust, fear, surprise, sadness, disgust, and anger. And the outer circle are the emotions with mildest intensity. So they are annoyance, interest, serenity, acceptance, apprehension, distraction, pensiveness, boredom. So another emotions was created as a result of combination of two basic emotions. So that is Podricks' will of emotions. Sorry.
Many people discount the importance of emotions, but emotions help us in a variety of ways. Our emotional instincts help us assess threats, survive, and grow. But how do emotions occur? And what are the basic emotions? That's what this video will focus on. Theories such as the common sense, James Lange, appraisal label, and rational emotive, and the basic emotions, with a nod to Robert Plutchik's emotions wheel. There are a number of theories about how emotions occur, most just moving around the order that things happen. All of them, however, start with a stimulus, or what some call an activating event. The stimulus could be someone's behavior, even your own, an event, something that you react to. The common sense theory suggests that emotions just happen, and they happen as a response to a stimulus, and then your body responds. For example, you meet someone new, feel nervous and uncertain as an emotional response, then your body responds, a physiological reaction, by blushing, increased heart rate, etc. This approach implies that you have no choice in the matter. The stimulus causes your reaction. The James Lange approach reverses the last two steps. Now you meet someone new, the stimulus, which may cause you to blush and your heart start pounding, a physiological reaction, which results in you feeling nervous and uncertain, your emotional reaction. I said may cause a physiological response because in this theory, if there is no physical reaction to the stimulus, there would be no emotion. The third theory, the appraisal label approach, takes the James Lange view and inserts an additional step between the physiological reaction and the emotional reaction. The stimulus still causes the physiological reaction, but then your brain gets involved as you label your response. The label you use determines the emotions you experience. Depending on how you label the physiological response, you will experience different emotions. In other words, if you label your heart pounding and blushing as nervous, you will feel nervous. If, however, your label is excitement, then you feel excitement. This last approach allows us to have more control over our emotions because what we think is instrumental in what we feel. If we change our thoughts, we can manage our emotions. That brings us to another theory, the rational emotive theory, as proposed by psychologist Albert Ellis in 1955. It's very similar to the appraisal label approach. Instead of saying that an event causes your emotions, Ellis says that how you think about those events is what causes your emotions. Yep, your thinking causes your emotions, not what someone says to you or how they behave around you. He still starts with the stimulus, or what he calls the activating event. Then your thoughts about that event create your emotional response, which results in your physiological response. Say your friend is late for an appointment. That would be the activating event, the stimulus or the catalyst that starts your thinking process. Your brain goes into action with thoughts, and there are a variety of thoughts to choose from. Could she have gotten into an accident? Maybe she's late because she got that job she was interviewing for. She doesn't think my time is important. Well, that's just how she is, and so on. You are actually engaging in self-talk, and while you are talking to yourself, your emotions come into play. Worry, hope, frustration, acceptance. Your thoughts cause your emotion. If you're like me, your thoughts aren't confined to a single sentence. She doesn't think my time is important, maybe followed by, this has happened before. In fact, many times before. That's not fair. I'm just as important as she is. And before you know it, your thoughts have spiraled and your physical reactions have spiraled as well. You find your jaws tightening, your eyes rolling, and before you know it, your frustration has escalated into anger. You are fuming, ready to attack your friend when she finally arrives. The value of this approach is that if you change your thoughts, then you change your emotions and how you respond to your emotions. Note the name of this theory includes the word rational. If you can think rationally about the activating event, you should be able to control your emotions. Ellis took this approach and developed it into what he called rational emotive behavioral therapy, often abbreviated as REBT, to help in therapy sessions such as anger and stress management, with the focus on altering your thought process to change your emotions. This in turn will affect your physiological reactions, in the long run allowing you to adjust your behavior. Notice that for our example, I identified 5 different emotions, but there are many, many more, way too many to list here. How many emotions are there? It depends on who you ask. Aristotle identified 9: anger, friendship, fear, shame, kindness, pity, indignation, envy, and love. And Darwin added some more. American psychologists Paul Ekman and Walter V. Friesen developed a list of 6 basic emotions that they say are communicated by facial expressions, often called universal emotions, as they are said to be recognized across cultures: anger, fear, disgust, surprise, happiness, and sadness. Dr. Robert Plutchik, who Wikipedia credits as the developer of one of the most influential classification approaches for general emotional responses, created the emotion wheel, listing 8 basic emotions. You can think of these emotions as 4 parts of opposites: joy and sadness, acceptance and disgust, fear and anger, and surprise and anticipation. He also classified them as positive, joy, acceptance, anticipation, and surprise, or negative, anger, fear, disgust, and sadness. According to Plutchik, we cannot experience opposite emotions at the same time, such as the positive emotion of acceptance and the negative emotion of disgust. In fact, this is a major criticism of Plutchik's approach, as many disagree, citing the example of joy and sadness on opposite ends of the emotion wheel and a positive and a negative emotion, which many parents report feeling when their children head off to college or get married. He did suggest that we can experience blends of emotions. If you look at the emotion wheel, joy and acceptance are right next to each other. If you combine these two, you'll have the complex emotion of love. In the same way, combining acceptance and fear produces submission. Fear and surprise result in awe. Surprise and sadness produce disappointment. Sadness and disgust create remorse. Disgust and anger turn into contempt. Anger and anticipation yield aggressiveness. And anticipation and joy produce optimism. And again, Plutchik believes that contradictory blended emotions, such as love and remorse, cannot exist at the same time. Plutchik also proposed that emotions vary in their intensity. Think of the emotion wheel as just one level or row in a solid cylinder, often called the emotion solid. The emotions at the top of the solid, above Plutchik's basic emotions, are more intense, while those at the bottom of the solid are less intense. You can probably see it easier if we spread out the solid. Notice that anger, when more extreme, is rage, while when less intense, it is merely annoyance. More intense than joy is ecstasy, while serenity is a more muted emotion. You'll probably notice that as emotions become less intense, they are more difficult to tell apart and label. In fact, we may not even have the vocabulary words for what we are experiencing. Let's end with some interesting findings about emotions. Interesting, but perhaps not surprising. If you want to estimate the intensity of an emotion, pay attention to posture and gestures. As an example, someone who is angry tends to gesture very quickly and sharply. Women tend to be better than men at recognizing emotions, particularly ones related to vulnerability, oftentimes without being aware that they are doing it. And women are also more nonverbally expressive, meaning they use nonverbal cues to express their emotions. There is some evidence, however, that men are better at noticing emotions involving lust and anger. The older you get, the more accurate you are at reading other people's emotions. Probably not surprising. The longer you live, the more experiences you have to help you recognize emotions. And there are differences by culture. You are more accurate at interpreting emotions when you are communicating with someone from your same culture than when you are communicating with someone from a different culture. Another interesting finding is where you focus your attention on facial expressions. If you are from a culture that values emotional control, like Japan, you tend to look at the eyes for emotions. However, if your culture tends to be more open about expressing your emotions, like the United States, you tend to focus on the mouth for cues as to how people feel. Regardless of your sex, age, or culture, emotions are a natural part of life. Even naturalist Charles Darwin recognized their importance to our ability to survive. So you can't and shouldn't stop experiencing emotions. The major question is, how will you manage your emotions? Well, that is a topic for another video.
So that was the presentation of Robert Polchick's Wheels of Emotions. So for clearer presentation of the wheel of emotions, look closely on the tabular presentation on the intensity of emotions. Observe that when two basic emotions on the second circle were combined, it results to another emotion. So this is the outer circle called the mild intensity emotions, which I read to you, which I presented to you the circle, the wheel a while ago. So they are the serenity, acceptance, apprehension, distraction, pensiveness, boredom, annoyance, and interest. Then the second circle, which is the basic emotions or the moderate intensity emotions, they are joy, trust, fear, surprise, sadness, disgust, anger, and anticipation. But when the the new emotions, um, I mean, the second yes, the second circle were combined. If they were be combined, they form another emotion. So this is the new emotions created in between two basic emotions in the second circle. So say for example, if joy plus trust is combined, that means the emotions being created what is a love. Then another is if trust plus fear is combined, that's equivalent to submission. Then we also have fear and surprise, and it's equivalent to O. Then if surprise plus sadness is combined, then it is equal to disapproval. So when there's surprise, maybe there is sadness. Like after surprise, there's sadness. Then when sadness is combined to disgust, then there is remorse. Then disgust plus anger, it's equal to contempt. Then anger to anticipation, it's equivalent to, or it's equal to aggressiveness. Then anticipation plus joy is equal to optimism. So the inner circle, or the not the center but the the circle, which is the strong intensity of emotions, or ecstasy, admiration, terror, amazement, grief, loathing, rage, and vigilance. So these are the breakthrough or the breakdown of the presentation of intensity of emotions. So this is a tabular presentation of the intensity of emotion of Paul's Greek wheel of emotions. So in real life situation, you may observe that before a person fall in love to somebody, the first emotion is that they are happy together. While happily getting along with that person, trust starts to develop. And finally, love blooms. It is common to see friends falling in love with each other because they trust and happy being together and ends up as lovers rather. Now that we have learned the basic emotions and its intensity, let us study why do we need to control our emotions. So, uh, on the previous presentation, we have tackled, or the last time that we have presented the parts, functions, and something like that of the brain. So This is the limbic system. So to better understand this, we will watch the video clip that I have attached. So you better watch out and
Welcome to
understand.
this short video by Sutton Brain Hub on the anatomy of the limbic system. So, the limbic system is a group of brain structures found deep beneath the cerebral cortex and sits just above the brainstem. Its main function is involved in regulating many of our emotions and motivations, particularly those related to survival, such as fear, anger, hunger, and sexual behaviour. But it is also involved in higher mental functions, such as learning and memory. The limbic system is the reason that some physical things, such as eating, seem so pleasurable to us, and the reason why some medical conditions, such as high blood pressure, are caused by mental stress. Unfortunately, there is no consensus as to what structures constitute the whole of the limbic system, so in this video we'll stick to those viewed as the most important. Firstly, if we have a look at the amygdala, which here we have coloured in blue, the amygdala is a small almond-shaped structure located deep and medially within both temporal lobes. This is often known as the emotional centre of the brain, as it is responsible for fear conditioning or the associative learning process by which we learn to fear something. If we were to stimulate this area, we would induce emotions such as anger, violence, fear and anxiety. On the other hand, if we were to damage both amygdalae, we would lose the ability to feel these emotions and become much more mellow and develop disinhibited behaviours. This is called Kluver-Bucy syndrome. Now the amygdala is in close proximity to the hippocampus, which here we have coloured in purple. The hippocampus plays a key role in forming and storing new memories, in particular consolidating short-term memories to long-term memories. If we were to damage our hippocampi, we would develop a condition called anterior grade amnesia, which is the inability to form new memories, although older memories such as those from childhood would still be safe. Now the hippocampus sends C-shaped axonal projections through the forebrain, around the diencephalon, and into the hypothalamus via the fornix, which we have here coloured in yellow. The hypothalamus, which is coloured in green, is a small group of nuclei that have many different functions. For example, it plays a major role in regulating the endocrine system. In particular, it has close connections to the pituitary gland via the infundibulum and the hypophyseal portal system. It also regulates our autonomic nervous system, which includes functions like the fight and flight or rest and digest responses and body temperature. It is also involved in regulating our sleep-wake cycle in response to light and many other vital activities. Just superior to the hypothalamus, we have the thalamus, coloured in red, which is a large mass of grey matter cells that constitute the main relay station in the brain, whereby sensory and motor signals are sent to and from the spinal cord and the cerebrum. This is important in the limbic system as much of what we see, hear and feel influences our emotions. Finally, the thalamus has many connections to the cingulate gyrus, coloured here in grey, which is located on the medial aspect of the brain just superior to the corpus callosum, and which is then separated by the callosal sulcus and bordered then superiorly by the cingulate sulcus. The cingulate gyrus helps regulate pain and emotion, but is particularly involved in driving the body's conscious response to unpleasant experiences, and therefore the avoidance of negative consequences. So in summary, the limbic system comprises of a complex group of structures that are important in various functions, such as interpreting emotional responses, storing memories, and regulating bodily functions. That's our quick overview of the limbic system, so thanks for watching.
Subscribe to Sutton Brain Hub for more videos to help explain the mysteries.
So that was the presentation about the brain and your emotions. So your brain is an organ of soft nervous tissue contained in the skull, functioning as the coordinating center of sensation, intellectual and nervous activity. The limbic system controls emotions, memories, and arousal. The almond-shaped section of nervous tissue called amygdala is the center of emotional processing sensing. It is responsible for the perception of emotions such as anger, fear, and sadness, as well as the controlling of aggregation or aggression. It stores value judgments we make and memories of behaviors that produce positive and negative experiences. So for example, while walking alone on the dark alley, you heard footsteps. Your reaction might be to walk faster or run with your best speed. This reaction results from prior negative experience while walking alone in a dark road. Perhaps you've watched the same scene on television. The amygdala stores the memories of what you experienced or what you've watched. Then it gave you judgment that something bad might happen to you. Thus, you feel fear and react by running fast. So my question is, how does learning emotional intelligence helps you to be successful? To answer that, the term emotional intelligence was created by two researchers, Peter Salovey and John Mayer, but was popularized by Daniel Goleman in his 1995 book Emotional Intelligence. Why it can matter more than IQ. Goleman discussed that EI is important, or emotional intelligence is important, to be successful in academic, professional, social, and interpersonal aspects of one's life, a skill that can be taught and cultivated and Emotional intelligence is defined as the capacity to be aware of, control, and express one's emotion and to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously and empathetically. Therefore, it is the key to both personal and professional success. For Goleman, emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage our own emotions. Second is to recognize, understand, and influence the emotions of others. This means being aware that emotions can drive our behavior and impact people either positively and negatively. Then it is essential to learn how to manage those emotions, especially when under pressure. So there are 5 essential elements of emotional intelligence. First, we have self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. Now, what is self-awareness? It is knowing what one is feeling at any given time and understanding the impact those moods have on others. Second one is the self-regulation. Self-regulation, controlling or redirecting one's emotions, anticipating consequences before acting on impulse. Then we have the third one is motivation, utilizing emotional factors to achieve goals, enjoy the learning process, and persevere in the face of obstacles. Empathy, it is sensing the emotions of others. Social skills, managing relationships, inspiring others, and inducing desired responses from them. So, based on Gallman's study, how a person reacts in a situation may influence others and affect efficiency. Therefore, a person must avoid making decisions when under pressure, feeling down, or when experienced too strong emotions, such as when too happy or very angry. It may lead to wrong or inappropriate decisions and actions. So that was the 5 essential elements. So that ends our class for today. Once again, this is your personal development teacher, Sir Arnel, saying the search of the self continues every day. Thank you and goodbye.